If you ever bullied someone, do you still sometimes think about how the person is now doing affected by your bullying? What did you do? I'm best friends with the guy I used to bully. It's not an excuse, but for context, I was going through extreme family issues with my dad at the time. I was never a bully, but the situation made me very bitter, and I ended up being a bully for a time. It started out as the good old I'm just joking, relaxed dude, and spiraled down into indisputable bullying. I would fuck with him, fuck with his stuff, say mean things. Thankfully I never got physical with him. Through all that, he was still genuinely pleasant to me. I guess one day after school, he noticed that I was walking to McDonald's instead of being picked up by my dad like usual, and he tagged along. He came up and asked why my dad wasn't picking me up this time, and I just lost my shit. I got emotional as hell. I was nearly crying in this man's arms. So we stopped halfway at the church, sat in the parking lot and talked. He listened to me. I cried some more. Some kids walked by. I joked that they were probably laughing at me for crying. He joked, fuck em, ignore em. That's what I did when you were being an asshole. We laughed and I gave him the most heartfelt apology of my life. He gladly accepted it and now I have a best friend to show for it. Also, my dad got the help he needed and continues to be an amazing father to this day, just like how he was before his issues. Sorta bullied someone. Does it count as bullying if it was getting back at a bully? In high school, to preface, I was a quiet kid and the guy bullying me was a dick, but it was apparent why. The parents were divorced but still living together in a small dilapidated trailer on a farm. Both highly abusive, both alcoholics and druggies. We got into a fight one day, actual punches and shit. Neither of us really got anything serious on the other and we stopped. And I said, you ever think how your parents seemed to have split right around the time you were born? That was by far and large the worst thing I've ever said with a straight face, and I can tell it got to him, because he immediately unclenched his fists and walked out of the room. He didn't bully me after that, but it wasn't hard to see how badly it hurt him. I wasn't sure how tensions would be. I wanted to apologize, because I knew he was a chill guy at heart, and he just had a really awful home life, but I wasn't sure how he'd take it. I waited a couple months and apologized, and he accepted, and said he shouldn't have bullied me, but that my insult also helped him realize he needed to get out of there. I don't take that as a point of pride. Nobody should have to go through that shit alone, much less get insulted because of it. On a good note, we are actually good friends now, and talk relatively often. He's doing much better than those days. He graduated college and landed a very well-paying job, and he seems to excel at it while being happy to boot. I wasn't directly involved, but I stood by as my brother and my, at the time, best friend bullied some poor kid one recess in 4th grade. He ended up moving away not long after. I still feel bad about it. That former best friend and the rest of my friend group ended up bullying me throughout middle school, then starting a rumor that led into high school and got to the point where people were calling me homophobic slurs based on a false rumor. I'm not sure I deserved all of that for being bystander, and I'm sure those people don't give two shits about how badly I'm doing. They never did. I once bashed an autistic kid into a locker because he wouldn't stop trying to talk to me. I regret it, and I feel bad about it, but it doesn't really have a lasting effect considering we are friends now. We talk about Nintendo and play Smash together. I was on both ends of the spectrum. It's amazing what nasty little savages we truly are. When you think about the bullying pecking order in school, the Nazi concentration camp system begins to make a lot more sense. I've had the opportunity to meet my bullies in the post-scholastic world and they apologized and honestly expressed embarrassment for their action. I've met people I had bullied and felt the same shame. What's interesting to me is that the bullies I've met, along with myself, didn't come from good families and a lot of them weren't actually popular kids. In fact, the popular kids did come from good families, were nice people, and attractive / had a thing. Yeah, I remember them. I was able to find one of them years later and apologize for what I did when I was still in school and she accepted my apology. I didn't have the chance to apologize to the others but just recently saw some of them on social media and they look like they are doing great. They look genuinely happy. I would be lying if I said I'm happy for them, but I guess that's why they are up there and I'm still down here. A guy I knew had a bad speech impediment. All of his friends including me would make jokes at his expense. He laughed along, but looking back I think it probably made him feel like shit. I think this is the biggest misconception about bullies. Most don't know they're bullies. They think that their actions aren't harmful because he's my friend, or I was just being funny. I didn't bully anyone. However, I have regrets about all the times I could have stepped in and stood up for someone else being bullied. It would have been a little thing for me to do at the time, and may have had a positive influence on their life. It hit me harder after I had my own children. I didn't bully her as such, but I was definitely not kind to her, and I was horrible about her behind her back. I messaged her in our early 30s and apologized for anything I had said or done to upset her or make her feel bad, explained that I was having undiagnosed mental health problems and that I wasn't just insecure, but she represented everything I wanted to be. I got a reply back that said she hadn't even realized I didn't like her, but that what I said made sense as to why I felt that way. Even thought she thought it was weird as shit that out of all the cool people we went to school with, it was her that I wanted to be like. We are still in contact and often use each other as an example of how you can never tell what someone is really thinking. Yes, I was an immense asshole as a child. Bullied a kid for his weight. Others as well. But I was especially cruel to him. Because of this and other problems I got into, I changed schools. Went through a lot of bullying on the school I changed to, but I guess I deserved it. It still haunts me mentally until today, so I can only imagine how the boy I bullied feels. I think often about him. Even saw him once at a bus stop. But I was so ashamed that I just looked away. Very infrequently. I doubt I even realized I was being a bully, though in retrospect it was clear in a few cases. I definitely had a shitty side when I was a kid. It was weird. I was a quiet kid who didn't cause problems generally. I just absolutely did not tolerate people I perceived as stupid. When I got slotted into group work, things went great, as long as everybody kept up or demonstrated they were better than me at it. If they were worse than me but followed my lead, that was fine too. If they ended up wasting my time, though, I got real shitty with them for the duration. Class discussions could go sideways too. There was definitely one kid I got slotted with all the time for some reason. Our names must have been close alphabetically or something. No idea how the teacher missed how toxic I was and kept us together. I was sort of in this weird situation that the new girl at school started copying one of my friends' clothes, books, music, hobbies etc. So after telling her off a couple of times and a visit to the school counselor without any change, that friend started bullying her. I just sort of stood by and didn't really get involved, but it still made me feel really guilty. A few years after graduating, I ran into that girl and just had a normal friendly conversation with her. I also mentioned that I cut that friend off after graduating in hopes that it would make her feel better. By now I feel pretty okay with the whole thing. The girl got a good job after graduating, so I think she's doing better now. Not me personally, I refused to vote, but my HS class sophomore year voted as a cruel joke the uncool girl as homecoming queen. She was the only one who wasn't in on the joke. The saddest thing is, when I see reunion pics of mostly the popular kids, she is always with them, still not realizing that awful joke. I have thought about posting on my HSFB, but I doubt anyone will admit to it. A few years ago, a guy came up to me in the street calling me Paul. My name's not Paul. He seemed really happy to see me. It took a few moments, but I realized this was one of my school bullies from when I was 8 or 9. He seemed to think we were old friends catching up on the good times, as if all had been forgiven. You were never a friend, you cunt. In 3rd grade, my Halloween costume included a shirt that was a little cropped. One of my classmates sitting next to me on the carpet leaned over and said, "You're not supposed to wear a costume that shows your belly." She wasn't wrong, but I shot back, "And you're not supposed to wear the same clothes 3 days in a row." I still feel bad, because I know wearing the same clothes multiple days in a row wasn't her fault. I never did get to apologize, but I'm sorry, Dakota. I have never bullied anyone in my life, but I was treated horribly growing up. Not one single person has ever contacted me to apologize. I'm sure they're still all terrible people and I have no compassion for them. Yeah, but I was also bullied and went on to have personal relations with people I care about. I hope they did too. I regret the times I was bad to people. But I think good people have regrets. It's the worst people who think back and can't see when they hurt others. With some rare exceptions, I suppose.